Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
Dr. Dara is an outstanding political activist, social crusader, and astute businessman and church leader. He is a pastor at the Disciples Transformation Church and the Chief Executive Officer of Chancellor House Limited. He has worked at notable private and government establishments, including the Ministry of Defense, Abuja, Nigeria. He studied English language and literature at the University of Benin, Nigeria. He is happily married to Titilayo Dara. This interview is poised to squeeze knowledge out of his wealth of experience and insight about workable solutions to the problems associated with the country's cultural diversity, politics, insecurity, and economic instability. Sit back and enjoy the interview. Since Nigeria gained our independence in 1960, achieving unity in diversity has been one of the major issues that is yet to be resolved. With the three major ethnic groups, the Yorubas, Igbos, and Hausas, and other minor ethnic groups, and their quest for power and supremacy, disunity is the order of the day in the country. To address this unending issue, Dr. Dara, going by his wealth of experience and expertise, was tasked with the work of shedding light on his perception on the efforts being channeled towards self-determination by agitators, especially from the three major ethnic groups, with a view to finding out if the steps taken by the agitators are in the right direction or not, and looking into the seed of time what he considers as foreseeable results in the nearest or distant future, and the consequence of such actions on the unity and stability of the country.
Definitely not. Yeah, I believe that they are actually dissipating their energy in the wrong direction. But they know what they are doing. They know they are not going to have a different country. But what they want is to use it for bargaining purposes, to put pressure on the center. But the problem is, who are you bargaining with? When Buhari was president, the Hausa people were not talking about moving away. Now, the Yoruba people had been talking about moving away from Nigeria before Tinubu became president. They feel that it will expose their hypocrisy if they stop. So they are making feeble efforts to make it appear as if they are still interested in moving away. As I told you before, most of the activists are using these separatist calls for bargaining purposes. I once gave a lecture in Enugu. I was actually invited by a political wing of MASOB then, as it was then. That was before IPOB. And I gave the view that what Eastern Nigeria needs is an economic and technological Biafra. You don't need a political Biafra. If you are what you claim to be, you are brilliant, you are capable, you are enterprising, do it in your region now. Let federal allocation be just like bonus to you. Be self-reliant, be self-sufficient. Let's have an integrated regional plan for Eastern Nigeria with a blueprint on railway, airport, roads, that you are pulling your resources both at home and in diaspora to do. And if you turn Eastern Nigeria to Belgium, we will all be proud of you. We don't need visa to go there. In fact, many people come and be spending their holidays there. They will come and invest there. But instead, there are all these funny claims. We can make Nigeria great. We can make make your state great. Make your state great. Make your region great. And during the 2014 National Conference. I was a delegate to 2005 National Conference and also a delegate to the 2014 National Conference. One of the alternative proposal I made was that instead of regionalism or regional government, what we need is an integrated regional development entities. At that time, we had Development Agency of Western Nigeria. We also had NDDC. So my view is that you need to sustain NDDC because of the oil production issue, but you need to create a South-South development agency. You need to create a Western Nigeria Development Agency and similar agencies in each of the 6 geopolitical zones. It was well received, but it was not integrated into our report because as at that time, the North was pushing the agenda of Northeast Development Commission, and they felt that making such development commission available to all the 6 geopolitical zones was going to reduce the quantum of what will come to the Northeast. I argue that it need not be so, but it didn't fly because the Northerners opposed it. However, I'm excited that Tinubu is implementing that now.
Dr. John Dara, being a political activist as in the past, contested for governorship and even presidential positions in Nigeria. He contested for the governorship position as an aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Kwara State in 2003, alongside the former Senate President, Bukola Saraki, as well as in 2015, challenging the status quo of the Saraki dynasty, and as a Christian in a state that can be described as predominantly Islamic. With the understanding of this background, the need arose for Dr. John Dara to answer to the question of why, after contesting 2 times the governorship position of Kwara State, he did not deem it fit to try again, at least the 3rd time. However, why he went further to contest for the position of the president in 2011, even when he could not succeed in becoming the governor of Kwara State, remains a matter of speculation and conjecture.
Majority of the people of Kwara State are Muslims, but majority of the people of Kwara State are also Yoruba people. So, and I'm a Yoruba man. Therefore, the ethnicity favors me, even if religion does not favor me. The 2003 election is an unfortunate commentary on the internal democracy of the parties, particularly PDP. On the eve of the primary, all the delegates went to the camps of their candidate. We had a total of 156 delegates. 107 were with me. 25 were with Bukola Saraki. But a party stalwart, specifically the then vice president, who was the campaign of the party, directed that all my delegates, 107, should be locked out. They were not allowed to enter. Then they added a motley crowd to the 25 of Bukola and announced him as candidate. But I proved then that a Christian can win election in Kwara State. Everybody saw what happened. People were weeping and crying and gnashing their teeth because of the injustice. So there was no hanky-panky. The candidate that won, I congratulated him. That won the primary. And again, PDP was busy undermining him. In fact, they wanted to take away the mandate from him after openly winning. They wanted to take it away from him. I fought as if it was my mandate. In fact, and it's because of my experience in the previous election that made me to stand by Ajibola. But they could have, he could have won the general election very easily. But even his own party was undermining him during that general election. So he lost. Fortunately for my group, PDP pushed us out in 2018 when Saraki, who had made Jonathan to lose election by moving to APC. He now lost out in APC and was coming back. The executive that my team had put in place, they unilaterally dissolved it and gave him a blank check to set up the executive in Kwara State. So we angrily moved out into APC. After that, I moved and focused on running for president. But the truth is that I didn't have the kind of resources required to become a president. I was banking on some big wigs to finance my campaign, which they did not do, and I cannot blame them. It's their money. It's up to them to decide whether they want to spend their money on me or not. Even though they were full of praises, you are fantastic, you are the best presidential material, you are this, they did not put their money where their mouth was. So now I'm close to 70. Honestly, I've lost interest in any competitive politics. I don't want to contest any election. Even if I have all the money now, I would rather put it on my son or people of their generation. I think after Tinubu, we should be looking at younger generation.
The indefatigable Dr. John Dara has also actively participated in the activities of the Middle Belt Forum, where he was the National Secretary from 2012 to 2017. In the 8-year tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, the country was bedeviled with so many crises, with one of them that claimed the lives of thousands of innocent Nigerians, being the Fulani herders and farmers clashes. This continued with impunity and was heart-wrenching and disturbing for the reasons, especially one of it being how the Fulani herders had access to AK-47 guns, which under normal circumstances should not be in their hands. For getting it needs the consent of the president, and it is very expensive. The motives behind the killings and the invasion of the Middle Belt states, such as the Plateau and Benue, are what this man of great insight sheds light on for our edification.
One of the tragedies of the Buhari dispensation is that President Buhari did not use his position to promote harmony in northern Nigeria. In fact, whether he admits it or not, he has driven a wedge between the Middle Belt people and the people of the far north. The Middle Belt people suffered so much at that time, and the presidency was like, if you love your life, give up your land. It was so insensitive. However, that should not define us permanently. What I've been advocating in the whole of northern Nigeria is the era of a group feeling superior to another is long gone. As a matter of fact, Middle Belt people are better educated than the people of the far north. That's the reality. 2/3 of the lecturers in ABU are from Middle Belt. So you cannot relate to Middle Belt in a presumptuous or arrogant way anymore. You can only build up harmony in northern Nigeria on the basis of mutual respect, on the basis of give and take. So the time has come for us to put behind all those outdated ideas. Allow freedom of religion in northern Nigeria, allow freedom of commerce, freedom of even settlement. No reason why a Fulani man cannot come and live happily in Jos, in Makurdi, in Offa, where I come from. There is nothing stopping you from coming to live with us. But don't impose your religion on us. Don't insult us by undermining our culture.
The problems that Nigerians were faced with under the leadership of the former President Muhammadu Buhari and are still facing, being inherited by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the incumbent president of Nigeria, include the disregard for the constitutional rights of Nigerians to protest against injustice and bad governance. The Nigerian government had on several occasions clamped down on innocent protesters, as can be seen in the EndSARS protest, which was a movement organized by the youths of Nigeria, which fits in for description as a tsunami that crippled both social and economic activities in the country for about 7 days before the protesters were manhandled, arrested, and some of them killed at the instance of the government officials. The most recent of such uprising was the End Bad Governance protest of August 1st to 10th, 2024, where more than 30 minors were arrested, kept in detention for 90 days, and were seen as malnourished when they were brought to the court for arraignment. The worst part of it was the treasonable charges against them and the bail amount of 10 million naira put in their way. Journalists were not spared in these excesses of the government, and this act of silencing dissenting voices have called for urgent attention, and the question about how enlightened and informed both the government and the citizens are with regards to the right to protest, speak truth to power, and hold the government to account has been brought to the front burner, with the need to chart a course in the right direction as imperative. The extent to which the media, who themselves are at a receiving end, have performed in educating the Nigerian people remains a question to be answered.
I believe the Nigerian media is very vibrant, and that is good for democracy. However, they are not sufficiently committed to the development of the country. In fact, an unfortunate phenomenon is creeping in. You can predict what the position of a Yoruba journalist will be on some issues, or an Igbo journalist, or Hausa journalist. In other words, ethnicity is coloring their opinions. That's a dangerous trend. It's a dangerous trend. Right now, the people who are vehemently opposed to Tinubu, we know the ethnic backgrounds. It's predictable what they are saying. Now, that's not good for Nigeria. Now, let's look at Tinubu program objectively. From the days of General Gowon, Nigeria had a development plan that General Gowon was not able to implement, because it was in the last days of his administration. You know, there was the civil war and all that. So the last day they did a blueprint, and the emphasis was on deregulation, decentralization, and productivity, self-reliance for the nation. It was not implemented. Obasanjo tried to implement it. So he introduced what he called austerity measures. It was painful. But because of the hue and cry, he backed down. He didn't follow through with that program. Then General Babangida came. SAP is the same, what we can call national consensus is on Nigeria's national consensus, rightly or wrongly, is on deregulation, decentralization, and enhanced productivity. So Babangida tried to implement it through what he called structural adjustment program. Whenever we are trying to do anything about deregulation, decentralization, free economy, market driven, people will start shouting IMF, World Bank. We all read economics in school. So who is it? Ghost that is running IMF? The policies there are Nigerians involved in formulating those policies. From the days of Kanu, Idika Kanu, we had Nigerians there. To Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, to my sister Obi Ezekwesili. All of them were all part of IMF, World Bank, and the consensus is that the world economy and each nation's economy do better in a deregulated free market environment. But whenever we want to implement it here, they will say, the pain is too much. Then the government will back out.
The past military administrations in Nigeria, which some have described as an aberration when compared with the civilian administrations that are democratic but without the dividends of democracy, create a mind-blowing revelation, especially considering the infrastructural developments achieved by the military government, which are more than those achieved by the civilian government. The question of whether the military government is better than that of the civilians is a question demanding answers from perceptive Nigerians.
No, the military achieved more in terms of infrastructure development because, as I said earlier, they are able to push through programs with little or no resistance. The military can construct roads through your territory, and you will not have people who are saying they want compensation and they will block the road or kidnap the construction workers. But I think there has been rampant corruption in recent times that undermined our ability to build infrastructure. I think two factors undermined the civilians, the democratic dispensation from building infrastructure: the over-dependence on subsidy and the corruption factor. I commend Tinubu for recognizing that fighting corruption is not just about catching thieves. It's about providing structures that make it difficult for anybody to steal. And there are practical administrative and accounting measures that once somebody is not giving value for money to the nation, we should know. And that is what I think Tinubu is trying to introduce as an accountant. With that, we are going to make tremendous progress.
It is no longer news that in politics, politicians have to get their hands dirty in the quest for power. However, should that be the only route to follow? It is the belief of some Nigerians that it is possible for one spouse to be a major influencer in matters of behavior, especially that which could lead to good or bad governance, and to what extent this belief holds water is a matter that needs input from experts, especially the politicians themselves, for only the wearer of the shoes knows where it pinches. Also, under normal circumstances, religion is expected to play a prominent role in shaping the behaviors of people, especially the politicians who belong to one religion or the other, who are also expected to be influenced positively by the ethics of their religion. However, what obtains in our society today, which culminates in bad governance, leaves much to be desired and creates a room for the question as to whether matters of religion have become inconsequential in the leadership styles of our politicians.
Where there is no consequence, human beings are prone to commit crime. Believe me, it's everywhere. The rule of law is not about human nature being good. No, you must take it from me that where there is no consequence, human beings will commit unspeakable atrocity. So what we need to ensure is that corruption is prevented, and where it happens, it is heavily punished. A situation where someone steals 10 billion and then he enters into plea bargain and returns 2 billion and is going on living lavishly, well beyond what his legitimate income should have been, is not good for the nation. We should make it so costly that the reputation of a corrupt public officer should be ruined. The punishment should be so severe. I'm a pastor, and I know that religion has helped me a lot in forming my character. There are things that I would have been inclined to do that I cannot do because of my faith. Therefore, religion cannot be negative influence on the citizens. It's just that we have a tendency not to practice what we preach or what we profess. If all Muslims live according to the ethics of Islam and all Christians live according to the ethics of Christianity, we have a moral society and a peaceful society. Unfortunately, we only pay lip service to faith. Therefore, for me, it's immaterial whether you are a hypocrite or not. What society should do is to put in place a system of catching thieves. Every criminal should be made to pay for the crime. And the rule of law is critical if we really want to sustain democracy. So corruption is not a native of Nigeria, it's not a native of any country. It is where it finds opportunity, it thrives. Remove that opportunity and you get a more sane society.
Brics is an acronym for the powerful grouping of the world's leading emerging market economies, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the last Brics Summit held from 22nd to 24th October 2024 in Kazan, Russia, 13 new countries, including Nigeria, were accepted into the Brics as partners. One notable action about Nigeria's partnership with Brics is in regard to the proposed Brics currency, where Nigeria has its name on the proposed currency written in the Hausa language. This has raised controversial arguments as some Nigerians have argued for and against the motives behind such a suspicious action.
Brics is something we should embrace courteously, very courteously. Nigeria is part of the non-allied nations during the Cold War. The non-allied movement became less relevant because the Cold War is presumed to be over. But the truth is that the Cold War has been revived, with Russia, China forming the arrowheads of the left wing, while America, Europe remains the right, the leaders of the right wing. Nigeria traditionally has been with the Western world because of our colonial history. But as a way of asserting our independence, we tend to show that we are not going to be tied only to the West. And so we dance a little to the left, a little to the right. That's fair enough. But where Brics is being packaged as an anti-West entity, we don't want to be part of that. So that's why we have not joined fully. We are simply saying we are not averse to what you are doing. Now, Nigeria, we tend to major in minor. The idea of writing our name in Hausa with Brics, it's a little mischievous because it was not done transparently. It should have been something we would debate and discuss and say, look, the most widely spoken language in Nigeria is Hausa. So it is better for us to use one of our indigenous languages than to be using the colonial language, which is English. So there is good intellectual arguments for using one of our own native languages. The three major tribes may say, no, we don't want to suggest superiority of one over the other. So we don't want Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba. We want a minority tribe language to be used. But the issue is, even the rest of the country, we don't know the meaning of what has been written if we do that. So there are all kinds of approaches to it. My attitude is, okay, we have submitted our name in Hausa. Nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Leave it. We like to major in minor things. Look, what matters to the average citizen is how well is the economy doing. Even most of the political issues we are raising will become less significant when the economy is booming.
On a final note, we at the Giantability Media Network are thankful to Dr. John Dara for squeezing time out of his tight schedule to grant us audience for this interview. We are also appreciative of his wealth of knowledge and insight that he has shared with us, wishing him more grace to his elbow. We hope that Dr. John Dara's insightful contributions on the topics addressed would equip our viewers with a better understanding of the state of the country and prepare them for the challenges ahead. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.